Neil from Essex here with the details for you on what is coming for Kubota in 2026. This is all coming from an annual dealer meeting that we attend. It is one of the highlights of our years, both in being able to get together with the company, kind of see where things are going in the near and distant future, but also socializing with all the other deals that are out there. We learn a lot from each other at these meetings, and it's time very well spent. So I'm going to take a little bit of time here this morning and show you some of the things that were shown to us about where Kubota is going in 2026.
Essex, a helping hand with your land.
So first up is the most exciting and the biggest change here happening for next year, and that is the Grand L 70 series tractors. Now, it's helpful here to know a little bit of history of this product line. The Grand L series has always been intended to be kind of Kubota's halo tractor. It is the most deluxe, the most fancy, performative. If you're looking for the most premium compact tractor that you can find out there, it is the Grand L series tractors. The current product line, though, was introduced back in 2013. It is 12 years old, and it's been a long time since it's received significant upgrades. And so that is what is happening here in this new 70 series. Here at Essex, we do sell predominantly the cab version of this series, even though we do stock the open station machines as well. And there's been a lot of changes here that are happening in the cab. So if you compare the new cab to the old cab, it's a full 10 decibels quieter in the new cab, and perception-wise, that's about half as loud as what the outgoing model would have been, and a full 5 dB quieter than the nearest competitor in this space. So it should be the quietest cab that you're going to find really in any tractor in this class. We also have some new options for seats. You can get heated air ride seats inside of here now. The cab is switching from a 6-post cab to a 4-post cab, so the glass is curved nicely. It comes up over top of your head a little bit more, and it gives much better visibility than what the old model did. I believe the number that they threw out was 4 square feet of additional glass compared to the outgoing model. There's LED lighting all around this thing, including some lights and stuff you can put underneath the loader boom. The rear lights are integrated into the cab pillars now, so it's kind of like an automotive style tail light as opposed to lights just tucked up underneath the roof. So it's a super sharp, very modern looking cab. The Grand L 70 series loaders are also getting an upgrade. There's a mechanical self-leveling version now that will keep your pallet forks flat as that loader goes up and down, with some added linkage there that you'll notice on the top of the loader boom. They're also pulling over an option for a newer upgraded joystick on the loader inside the cab. So you'll notice this is the same joystick that's used up in Kubota's Deluxe Ag Series tractors, but it's pulling through all of those buttons onto the loader stick to give you more functions that you can do on your tractor without taking your hand off the loader stick. So really sharp, the ergonomics feel great, the buttons are nice and solid, really nice upgrade to the Grand L 70 by pulling this part over from the Ag tractors. Canada has always had a special Grand L series tractor that we've not had here in the US that is customized for snow removal. The new 6070 is going to be offered here now in the US, so we do have the availability to get this tractor now. Essentially what this is a traditional 6070 tractor, but with some electrical upgrades on it that enable the tractor to be able to run defrosters inside the cab to do the side doors as well as the rear window, not just the front windshield like the other models do. You can also install accumulators onto the 3-point hitch to allow that accumulator to be able to bounce with a snowblower back there on the rear of it. We can get through Nokian snow tires on it. It's going to come through with 2 standard rear remotes, a lighting package all around it, and really kind of all the customizations that you would do for a tractor like this with heavy snow removal. So no longer is this a Canadian exclusive model. So now when we dive into the nitty-gritty of exactly what's been happening to these models, there is a lot. There's standard models, there's deluxe models, there's cabs, there's open stations, and the combination of new features that you get does depend on which one of those configurations that you're offering. Once we start getting machines here on the ground, we'll go through and do videos that are in detail on all these things to help you understand what you might be shopping, but it is difficult for me just to rattle all these things off here and explain it to you of what features are in what package. But fundamentally, a lot of the changes that are happening on this model here start with a new screen. And if you look underneath the steering wheel, you're going to see a screen that's much like what you see in most cars today. A gauge on the left, gauge on the right, and a 7-inch screen in the middle. a lot of things are going to happen here on that screen. And so the first major thing here is what they call IHST drive modes. This tractor has the same transmission features that the prior series did with what they called HST Plus, but these drive modes enable you to go through and pick out a task, and then it will turn on and off the appropriate transmission features for the job that you're doing, hopefully making these things a little bit more accessible, because the old tractor, I have a 20-minute video explaining how all the different functions work. So this is going to be a lot easier. Now you can guess, along with that 7-inch display, you now have the ability to hook up cameras to this, and both a front or a rear camera can be hooked up. And as you drive the tractor between forward and reverse, it will select which camera is going to be the most useful, one that faces out the front or one that faces out the rear. I found the display to look really good, and it's extremely bright. So even in like an open station machine, you should be able to read what's going on the screen fairly easy. In addition to this, we pick up things that we're used to seeing over in the excavator series, so things like pin codes for starting the machine up to help prevent theft on these. They're coming out with a remote start button, just like in your car. If you want to start your tractor and warm the cab up while you're still inside the house, you'll be able to do that. Jog controls in order to step through this. The cab versions are going to have Bluetooth radios built into this screen. So there's a lot of stuff that can be done by putting that display into the tractor, and that's now part of the Grand L70. There's a couple of nice small upgrades coming to the small F-Series machine. This would be a switch from the F2690 to the F2510. This is going to get an upgrade to the LCD display that's there underneath the steering wheel. It includes some battery meters and stuff that we didn't have on the older one before. There's some tie-down points now around the machine. These are typically sold to commercial and municipal customers, so that's a welcome upgrade. And we now have some seat options for this machine. When these arrive here at the dealership, the seat has always not been installed on the unit, and we now have some choices. So if you want to get, say, an air ride seat on this machine, that's now an option. We're not taking the seat that came with it and throwing it back in the warehouse, and you end up paying for 2 seats. This allows us to make a smart seat selection from the factory. The unit also is getting some other tire options too that it had not had before. We have some changes coming to the M6 series this year. Now, these are tractors that currently run between 100 and 140 horsepower, and you'll notice this funny picture here around this. I wasn't able to take pictures of this machine. Now, the reason why they didn't want pictures of this is because production and design work on this is not done yet. This is actually going to be a late 2026 release. You probably could have made an argument that this should have been included in the next year's dealer meeting. It's probably a little premature, but because they haven't finished the machine yet, they are often a little bit sensitive about photos being taken when it's not in its final state yet. I can tell you from the things that I saw from the machine that was here, you can infer a lot of the things that are happening over on the Grand L70 and kind of figure that they're going to get applied to the M6 here in some way. So things like that screen that has the backup cameras and stuff on it will work its way over here. But most interestingly, we're going to start having some standard and deluxe models here. The standard is going to look a lot like what we sell today, but the deluxe models are going to add some more high-end features that are often expected in real ag tractors. So things like cab suspension, closed center hydraulics, stuff that we've had to go up into the M7 series for, now is going to be coming down into the M6, creating some more capable M6 series tractors. So those are going to be some welcome changes in this series. Another related thing that's coming here for not just for M6, but for kind of like MX and up, is a GPS system called WorkSmart. Kubota has typically relied upon outside companies for GPS systems. You know, we would work with the Trimbles and the Outbacks and the Ravens of the world to be able to put GPS systems on the tractors, and Kubota made it easy for those companies to be able to integrate with their machine, but they're now working on a system of their own, and smartly, it doesn't seem like they're trying to go head-to-head with Trimble, right? It's more of an approach that a Kubota type customer probably is looking for in this kind of equipment, where we're taking an existing cell phone, an existing tablet, and attaching it to the tractor. You know, you're not having all the added expense of buying additional displays and putting a GPS radio up on the roof to get some GPS type functions on your Kubota equipment. Again, it's a cool approach to be able to look for more affordable ways in order to offer these features on agricultural oriented tractors. We're getting some very expected changes to the RTV long bed version. This would have previously been the RTV-X 1130. If you've watched this product line here for the last couple of years, Kubota went through an iteration of what they call RTV-X. Did a bunch of upgrades on these machines, modernized their styling, made them easier to shift, came out with some new tire options. The last remaining model in this RTV-X family upgrade was the long bed version, and so that's now receiving all the other updates that the rest of the RTV family has already got. The one neat packaging that is in here is that the camo unit now comes through standard with a winch in the back of the bed, lights on the bed extension that allows it to drop down to the ground, and an overall beefed up bed compared to what the older models were. Kind of a neat packaging. If you're buying this in a camo version, you're probably a hunter, and so they're giving you all the things that you would need to, say, winch an animal up back into the bed. So pretty cool. All this same stuff is available over in the orange versions as well. It is just standard equipment now on the camo. Some small evolutions are happening in the SZ stand-on mower series. That includes things like a decked lift assist, some updating styling and ergonomic changes up where you put your hands, some new tires, and also a couple of airflow changes in order to help the machines run a little cooler. We have a new model coming now in the SVL series. This is the big compact track loader now for Kubota, the SVL 110. This is a 15 horsepower bump to the big SVL. So previously the SVL 97 has been the large track loader in this family. It's going to be getting an engine bump and also a bump in terms of its hydraulic capacity and stuff. Now, when we look at the frame of this machine, this is still the SVL 97's undercarriage. So the chassis itself is not getting any bigger. The boom is not any different or larger. You will notice a spec bump in this back of the spec sheets when you go through and look at them, and that's because this machine's coming through with a standard weight kit on the back. So the suitcase weights have already been dropped on the rear of it, which is what's causing the weight and lift capacity increase. You can get that same lift capacity increase in the SVL 97 by putting on the optional weights, but they're standard here in this bigger machine. Now, in addition to the added horsepower and hydraulic flow, there's a couple of features and stuff that are happening in this machine, knowing that a lot of these are often going into like heavy-duty dirt work, heavy-duty land clearing applications where the added horsepower and the hydraulic flow is being put to use in specific implements. And so there's two new features in here that did not exist over in the SVL 97 before, and that is in terms of heat management features and auxiliary performance features. The machine is using some software in order to watch the heat that's coming off the engine and the auxiliary system, and dialing things up and down in the machine in order to make sure that it doesn't overheat itself and kind of maintains that performance in either the engine or the auxiliary system depending on how you're using the machine. So these are all software related features that should help ensure its performance in the kinds of applications that these things go into. This is only going to be sold in a very deluxe configuration. There's no open station version. They're all loaded cabs, air ride seats. The only choice that we really get is whether it's going to come through with a factory demo door on it or not. We like to see these things as factory options because when we install demo doors on these machines, typically we're throwing out or throwing the factory door back in the warehouse when we go through and put that demo glass in. So always saves a little bit of money when we can get these things through as factory features. Now, the one improvement or two that were made on this machine over the prior SVL 97 is going to be how the hose routing is done on the boom. If you notice here on the 97s, you get this big loop of hoses at the back. That's routed more smartly here, again, knowing that this machine is going into potentially demo and forestry applications. We don't want these hoses hanging off the back. That's cleaned up. And there's also a no tool swing out radiator now. You don't have to pull the bolts and stuff out of the radiator in order to swing it out. Those are changes that are going to be also running changes over on the SVL 97. So that is actually getting a couple of improvements as well as a result of the creation of the SVL 110. If you've watched the rest of the SVL product line, you've noticed the other models all get this -3 treatment. This is kind of the next iteration in this family. The SVL 65 is the last one here to go through and get these upgrades. So when we've seen this in the other models, it's the same thing we would have seen there before. Things like auto shift track motors, shockless ride accumulators on the boom, an adjustable track response, a new 7-inch screen on the side that has backup cameras in it, a Bluetooth radio, telematics, keyless starts, some ergonomic improvements that give us some big rubberized buttons over on the right-hand side, and some nice stick upgrades, LED lights around the machine, and importantly in this one, now an improved seat. The prior model here had a really inexpensive seat in it, and that's partly because Kubota has kind of always looked at this as the price fighter. It's the entry-level model, so they made some changes in order to hold the cost down. But in my opinion, the seat in the old one was inadequate for what this machine is. Now in these newer models, we have the ability to go through and select a air ride seat to be able to come through in it, so that nice heated air ride machines and a cab type configuration like we typically use here in the Northeast is now going to be an option for us in this. So that was a welcome upgrade that I like to see. One thing I would like to kick somebody over would be the model number. This is an SVL65-2S, where every other one of the machines in this family is now a -3. This one is not getting that same nomenclature, and that's because it lacks one feature that the rest of this family has, and that's a sealed one-piece cab. It does not have the same pressure-positive type cab that the rest of the machines in this family had, and they wanted to continue to denote that in some way, so they are calling this an SVL65-2S rather than a -3. That's always frustrating on our part because it will cause continual issues for us in the parts and service department, because when all of you walk in and tell us what you have, it's really easy to forget that a -2 and a -2S are different machines. So other than that, very expected changes for this machine, and particularly in terms of the seat, I think it's going to open this up to being taken a little bit more seriously here among our customers, because they're really upgrading the feel that this machine has had. Lastly is one of Kubota's worst kept secrets over the last couple of years, and that is that they're now producing a double inline small square hay baler. This is a piece that was actually engineered by Great Plains, is being manufactured by Great Plains, and is what I said. It's a small double square baler, a really high capacity unit, able to pound out up to 1,200 bales an hour out the back. You're going to need some kind of accumulator system running back there in order to handle all of these bales. And we're going to start seeing Kubota getting into, say, the commercial hay space a little bit more, which is exciting to us here at Messick's. It's kind of been part of our bread and butter here for a very long time. Availability of these is extremely limited here for the first year, so you might have a hard time getting your hands on one, but we're certainly waiting on waiting lists and stuff here to be able to get one of these into your field. One thing that was dialed back at this year's meeting was the general presence from smaller departments and outside vendors here at this meeting. Some things were simplified this year in order to save a little bit of cost, and so we really only saw like really minor changes from Land Pride and some stuff from Kubota's Hay Tools division that was hardly touched on, just small changes that are usually given a little bit more focus at a longer, more in-depth meeting with more partner companies attending. But one thing I do think was worth mentioning that I thought is a very cool initiative is a line that Kubota's coming out with called Trenton, and that's, I probably mispronounced that. I heard it said a bunch of different ways. But essentially what they're looking at here is aftermarket parts suppliers that are kind of OEM blessed. And that happens a little bit today with Orange Aftermarket, kind of in the line of accessory kits and that kind of stuff. But this would be a line that's focusing on parts. And by going through and identifying suppliers where they might be able to, say, source a seat that's less expensive than the OEM seat that they're sourcing, is going to start to give some more kind of like good, better, best type purchasing options when looking at parts for your machines. And we've tried some of this ourselves in the past, and it's really challenging in order to look at aftermarket stuff and make sure that the fit and quality is going to be correct. But this is going to be Kubota doing it themselves, and so it's going to be interesting to see what kind of things they're able to identify. So I know we're going to see some things like tracks and seats out of the gate, but there will be growing options of these kind of alternative parts that might work on your machine that the company has still blessed and signed off on. So I think that's pretty cool, right? When machines start to get thousands and thousands of hours on them, or tractors start to get 20 and 30 years old, buying those less expensive parts often makes great sense compared to a maybe costly high quality OEM part might be, and Kubota is going to be making that a little bit easier for both you and for us to be able to offer. So that's it. That's the big download for 2026. So a bunch of cool stuff coming out this year, some really significant changes in the tractor line, and all the things that are kind of being teased where this company is heading. It's going to be really cool to keep an eye on where they go over the next couple of years. So subscribe to the channel here. We will bring you full videos, in-depth videos on each one of these products as they arrive. We're glad to be able to fix you up with any parts or service needs that you have here at Messick's, or if you're shopping for one of these pieces of equipment, we'd be glad to help.